Kesubos Daf Ayin Aleph contains one Mishnah, and it continues the Gemara's discussion about what happens when a man or a woman make a neder between them, forbidding either all hana or some type of hana from each other, how we allow them to try to save the marriage, and when they say that they have to end it, and they have to get divorced, and either she gets the ksub or she does not, depending on whose fault it is. So the Gemara is going to analyze our last Mishnah, bring in a couple of more cases of Isser Hana, explain some of the lines of the Mishnah, and then get to the next Mishnah, which introduces more types of neder that they may make against each other. So first, the Gemara is discussing a place where there's an Isser Hana. The man made an Isser Hana. His wife is not allowed to get Hana from him. So over there we've seen in the Mishnah that the Tanakama says if he says that she can't get Hana for 30 days, then we allow them to try to work it out. And Rabbi Yehuda said it's a month if he's a Yisrael. So Gemara says, what's the difference? It's the same. It doesn't sound like any machlokes. Gemara offers two solutions. Solution number one, Rabbi Yehuda does not argue about the Yisrael. 30 days in a month is the same thing. The Mishnah brings him in because he has a different shear for a Kohen. He says a Kohen gets more time. A Kohen gets 2 or 3 months. Now, the Gemara gives the second answer, and that's Rava. Rava says there is a difference between 30 days and a month. Sometimes a month is only 29 days, so that extra day could be the difference between the two opinions. Now the Gemara introduces the Machlekes Amarayim, what the Mishnah was talking about when the Mishnah said that they have a month to work it out. And the question is, are they talking about where in the neder the husband said, I'm only asering it for 30 days, so we allow them to go for 30 days, and that it was only for 30 days, we allow them to stay B'Israel for 30 days? Or do we say, even in a situation where the husband didn't give any time, he said it's a complete Isser Hana, we still allow them to stay married for 30 days, hoping they'll be able to work things out and cancel the neder. So this is the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. Rav says it's only where he said explicitly that this neder is capped at 30 days, we allow them to stay for 30 days without getting divorced, and then after 30 days the neder is over. But if he didn't spell that out, then we don't say, well, maybe he's going to work things out. Shmuel says no, even if he's going to work things out, give him 30 days. Even if he didn't specify, give him 30 days, maybe they'll be able to work things out. Samar asks, we already have this machlokes before. We have a machlokes in a case. We have a Mishnah where a man asers tashmish on his wife. And over there we said that there's machlokes b'sil b'shamai, how much time he could allow that situation to go on before they have to get divorced. B'shamai says 2 weeks, B'sil says 1 week. And over there also, Rav said that it's only referring to where he spelled out that it's limited to this amount of time, which most even if he didn't spell out, we give him that amount of time to try to work things out and cancel it. It's the same machlokes, why is it repeated there and repeated here? So Gemara says, no, you need it because if I only said it in one place, I would not know that this machlokes exists. And that's because in the case where it's a monetary issue, where he asked her of getting hana from his property, not hanas tashmish, there's a solution. He could appoint a parnas. He could appoint somebody else to be his messenger. As we said, there's a way for him to do it. He says whoever is going to support her is not going to lose. And therefore, there's a potential solution that she can survive. That being the situation, it's much easier to let the situation continue for 30 days. So if he only said that case, then I would say that's the case where Shmuel says let it go. But maybe if there was no alternate solution, Shmuel would say have to divorce right away. And if I only said the case of the tashmish where there's no parnas solution, maybe only there did Rav say it can't continue like this, and Shmuel. But in the case of the parnas, the food where there is a solution, he would agree that there is something you could do. You should wait 30 days even if he didn't specify. Now the Gemara says, let's bring a proof from the next case in the Mishnah. The next case in the Mishnah is where the Isser Hana is made not on all Hana, but on a certain fruit. She's usher to eat from a certain fruit. The Gemara will explain further how that happens and why that's a problem, and why the marriage can't exist in those circumstances. So either way, the halach over there is that he has to divorce her right away. We don't say that 30 days are given. Now, according to Rav, I understand that. That's talking about where he didn't give a 30-day limit. And the Mishnah said in the beginning that you only allow them 30 days if he limited the original neder to 30 days. But you don't say give him 30 days stam to work it out. Now, according to Shmuel, though, you should give him 30 days stam to work it out. How come in this case is an Isser on the fruit? Great, give him 30 days to work it out. What's the problem? So the Gemara therefore has to come up with an answer here. And the Gemara is going to say that the case has to be where she made the neder, and she's the one who's demanding a divorce. And therefore, there's no possibility of working it out. She made the neder, the husband wasn't mefer it, and she's demanding a divorce. Obviously, she doesn't want to work it out. and therefore there's no sense in having them wait 30 days. They get divorced right away. So now the Gemara has a problem though, because if she made the neder, how come she gets her ksuba? If she made the neder, so it's her problem. Why should she get a ksuba? She's the one who created the problem here. So Gemara says that this is the Tanakama here must be Rabbi Meir, because usually Tanakama is Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Meir must hold that in the case where a woman makes a neder and the husband is not mefered, we blame him for it. He should have been mefer the neder, and therefore, since it's his fault, she gets her ksuba. We blame him. He loses the battle over the ksuba money, and she gets her ksuba payment from him. The expression that's used is she put her finger between her teeth. It's her problem. Now the Gemara is going to show that we have a Mishnah that quotes 4 Tanoim, and we're going to try to figure out who holds that it's his fault, who holds that it's her fault. Now we're claiming that Rabbi Meir holds that it's his fault, and that's why she gets a ksuba. But as we're going to see, it's not going to be so simple. So the Gemara brings the brisa. The brisa says that a woman who takes a vow of nazirus, and the husband hears and he's not mefer. So you have a machlokes between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda against Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Elazar. 4 times. According to Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, we blame her, and therefore the Baal has a choice. It could be mefer, and if not, then he could say she goes without a ksuba. It's her fault. He doesn't want to be married to a woman who makes nedarim like this, and therefore she goes without a ksuba. So you see clearly Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda are blaming her, even though he wasn't mefer. Rabbi Elazar say, no, it's his fault, and therefore she gets her ksuba. So it's a kasha, because Rabbi Meir clearly says that it's her fault, not his fault, and you're telling me that Rabbi Meir, the author of our Mishnah, says that she gets a ksuba. Stira. Somebody says if you have to change the names, flip it around. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda are the ones who say that it's his fault, and therefore she gets the ksuba, just like in our Mishnah she gets a ksuba. And Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Elazar are the one who say that she does not get ksuba because it's her fault. Says the Gemara, that's not going to make sense either, because Rabbi Yosi also appears in our Mishnah. Rabbi Yosi is in the case of the Mishnah, he's the last case where there's a vow against her wearing certain types of perfume. Rabbi Yosi says if they are poor, then the only time that's a problem is if there's no limit, because she's not used to wearing perfume anyway. So there, Rabbi Yosi's, he clearly says that she gets her ksuba. So Rabbi Yossi is also clearly blaming him, not her. So it doesn't make sense to switch it around. You still have the problem. Someone says, okay, you have to switch it so that it's 3 against 1. You have to switch it that it's Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yosi, and Rabbi Yehuda. First we'll say it's Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yosi. So switch the sides here. It's Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yosi are the ones who say that it's his fault, and therefore she gets her ksuba. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Elazar are the ones who say that it's her fault and she loses her ksuba. That's also not good, because Rabbi Yehuda appears in our Mishnah too, and in our Mishnah he also says that she gets her ksuba. So in a Mishnah, where do we see that in the Mishnah? He says that if it's a Yisrael and there's an Isser on the fruit, so you get to stay married for a little bit and try to work it out. And then if they have to get a divorce, she gets her ksuba. So again, Rabbi Yehuda also holds that way. So the worst case, so you have to make it 3 against 1. It has to be Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yosi. All hold that it's his fault if he wasn't made for it, and therefore she gets her ksuba. The only one that argues is Rabbi Elazar. Second teretz could be that it's really the way it was in the beginning. It's Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda against Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Elazar, or whatever configuration you want. And this Tana of our Mishnah will have to say, although the Tana Kama is usually Rabbi Meir, in this case it's not Rabbi Meir. In this case it must be somebody else. Gemara now analyzes Rabbi Yosi's opinion a little bit more in detail. So the Gemara asks, Rabbi Yosi gets involved in the case of a woman who made a vow not to wear perfume. And over there also he says that she gets her ksuba, which is clearly implying that the husband could have been mefer had he wanted to, and therefore it's his fault. And that's why he has to pay the ksuba. So Gemara asks, is it true that he could have been mefer? You can't be mefer everything. There's only certain things you can be mefer. Gemara introduces a brisa to show that Rabbi Yosi should hold that you can't be mefer such a vow. What does the brisa say? That Tanakama says the husband can only be mefer things which affect him, and it's inui nefesh. That is something oppressive for the functioning of the body. So, for example, if she says she's going to wash, or she says she's not going to bathe, or she says she's going to wear perfume, or she's not going to wear perfume, that's our case in our Mishnah. And on that, Rabbi Yosi says these things don't count as inui nefesh. These things are not oppressive. What will count. What counts is that she says she's going to eat wine, she's not going to eat wine, she's going to drink, she's going to eat meat, she's not going to eat meat, or she'll wear colored clothing, she won't wear colored clothing. That's the kind of thing that you could be Mayfair. So he's clearly arguing on the Tanakama, and he's saying that the Shavua that she can't wear certain types of perfume doesn't count. That's not something he could have been Mayfair. So then how come we're blaming him and saying that he has to pay the Ksuba? So Gemara says, when we say here to wear perfume, the word that we use is lehiskashet, which means to beautify. It could be that it doesn't refer to perfume. It could be it refers to shaving the hair in the lower region. That's something which is definitely negaya to the body, and it's a inui nefesh because it makes things really hard for him. He could get tangled over there, and it's a uncomfortable situation for him for tashmish. So the Gemara says that works according to, we have a machlokes about that. Is it something that he has a right to be Mayfair? If she refuses to shave, does he have a right to be made for that? If she says she's making a neder, not to remove the hair, could he claim that affects him, and therefore he wants to be Mayfair the neder, or is it her own business? It's not his issue. They have a machlokes over there between Rav Huna and Rav Bar Ava. Rav Bar Ava says it's not a problem. The expression he uses as a fox knows his own foxhole, so the husband knows where to go without getting confused just because there's hair there. So the Gemara says, okay, so well, you give a different shot. Over here, we're not talking about removing hair. We're talking about wearing besamim, wearing perfume. But what she did was she linked it to tashmish. She said, I'm making a vow I'm not going to wear this perfume, and if I do, I'm not allowed to have tashmish. So now it's a problem, because if she goes ahead and she wears the perfume, then it's and this vow stands, she's taka going to be forbidden to have tashmish, and that's a problem for him also, because he also won't be able to. If she can't, he can't. So therefore, the Gemara says that's why he could have been Mayfair. The Gemara quotes of Kahana, who expounds on this halacha. Kahana says if a woman says it's also from a husband to have hanas tashmish from me, that's an invalid tanai, it's an invalid neder, and she is making they're against an obligation that she has, and therefore he doesn't have to be made for it. It's canceled automatically. However, if she asers hanas tashmish on herself, he better be made for that, because she has a right to ban herself from tashmish. That's her own thing, but that also bans him, because if he can't do it without her getting enough from it as well, and therefore he better be made for that, because that's going to be a problem. So that's what's happening here. She's making a problem on herself. So now the Gemara asks, okay, why is this a big deal? If the whole issue is just because the wearing of perfume may cause it, Isser Tashmish, so let him not cancel it. Let them stay married. Let her just make sure not to put on that perfume. Why is this a problem for the marriage? So says the problem is that she's not going to wear the perfume. She's not going to wear the kishutim, and then she'll become misnavelis. She'll become repulsive. If that happens, people are going to make fun of her, and she's not going to be able to stand up to the pressure. So she's going to give in. She's going to end up wearing the kishutim, wearing the perfume, and then she's going to become asr. So Mara asks further, so if she becomes asr, so she still has a week or 2 weeks. Beishamai gives her 2 weeks, Basila gives her a week. So even if that happens, you still have time for them to work it out and try to cancel the neder. So Kavachomer here, where it's just something which may trigger an Isser Tashmish, why do we make them get divorced right away? Give them time. So Gemara answers, the problem is Beis Shammai was talking about a case where the husband made the neder. Beisil was talking about the husband made the neder. Here, the husband made a neder in a flash of anger. He calmed down, and therefore they want to try to get out of it. It's possible to work it out. Here, she made the neder, and he was quiet. That's not anger. That shows he wasn't angry at that time. She made the neder. He was just reactive. The fact that he did not feel the urge to cancel the neder shows that he just generally dislikes her, and he's very happy to have the neder, and then they're not going to work it out at all. Now, the Gemara has another question on Rabbi Yossi. He said that the poor people, they only have a problem with this vow of not wearing a kishutim if it has no limit. If it has a limit, then it's not a problem. They could survive with a limited vow. So Zimar, how big a limit could they survive? It can't be a million years. How big a limit could this be? So Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel 12 months. Rabbi Chana says 10 years. Rabbi Chizda says to the next yontif, to the next regel, because Bnei Yisrael always put on kishutim by the regalim, by the yontif. Now, for a rich person, we said the limit is up to 30 days. And where does that come from? So the Gemara says because the perfume lasts 30 days. The very wealthy perfumes, you last 30 days. Therefore, if she doesn't put on for 30 days, she could still keep the effect of the last time that she had. Okay, now we get to the next Mishnah. The Mishnah talks about three more types of nedarim. The Mishnah speaks about if he makes a neder that his wife cannot go to her father's house. So there it depends if her father's house is in the same city or not. If it's in the same city, they have 1 month to work it out. If it goes 2 months, if there was a 2-month limit, then she gets a ksuba. He has to divorce and give her a ksuba. She can't handle that. It's in a different city, so then it's for yontif. She goes home only for yontif. So then if he's asking her 1 yontif, she could do without. 3 yomim tovim she can't. And he has to give her a ksuba. 2 yomim tovim, the Gemara will explain what the halacha is there. Next, if he makes an neder that she can't go to a house of mourning or to a house of simcha, not to a wedding, not to a funeral. So he has to give her a ksuba right away because he's locking her in. If he says it's because of something else, so Gemara will explain that means that there's inappropriate people there and he's afraid for her safety, then he's allowed. Now, the next case in the Mishnah is if he says that you're asabahna unless you tell such and such person what you told me. He wants to force her to reveal something, or what I told you, or that you fill up the garbage and pour it out. The Gemara explains that refers to destroying the zera. So in all these situations, he can't force her. Instead, he has to divorce her and give her a ksuba. The Gemara begins now. The Gemara explains what happens if it's 3 regalim. We said that 1 she could last, 3 she can't. What about 2? So the Gemara says 2 answers. One is that it's a kohenes. The reason we didn't talk about it 2 is because it makes a difference if you're talking about a Yisraelis or a kohenes. Yisraelis, we don't give her extra time because she could always get remarried. Kohenes, we do give 2 months because she can't get remarried. That is if her husband's a Kohen. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, who says that distinction between a Yisrael and a Kohen. Second answer is that it depends. 2 months 2 regalim depends if she's common to run to her father's house. If she often goes, then 2 months is too hard for her. If she doesn't go, then it's not. Then the Gemara brings 2 psukim and a guide to drasha. The pasuk in Shir Shirim, Ani Chaim v'Shadi Kamigdalis Oz Hayisi be'Enav Kemotzis Shalom, I was in his eyes like one who finds peace. That refers to a kala who finds peace in the house of her father-in-law, and she runs to her father's house to say how wonderful he is. Next pasuk v'Haybe'Yamahunu Mashem Tikri Ishi v'Tikri Li Oid Baili. Hashem says, "But to the Klal Yisrael, you're going to be called my Ishi and not Baali." So what does that mean? So Rav Yechon says that's a kala in her father-in-law's house and not like a kala in her father's house, meaning to say she's already gotten used to her husband. She's not bashful anymore. She's already developed the familiarity and the love that comes with a steady marriage, and that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is promising us.